It is almost 10 years ago, October 2012, that the conservation and development of the Jerusalem Builders Garden was inaugurated. The plaques of the Jerusalem restorers were unveiled. Today, almost 10 years after, we would like to take you once again and send you a little bit of the special atmosphere here from Jerusalem, a special atmosphere you feel in the air and you feel it only deep down in your hearts. As Frank Wilson, president of JNF Canada, had said back then, your names will live on. The names of the restorers of Jerusalem are inscribed in the walls and linked to the city of Jerusalem forever.
Shalom JNF Canada, welcome to Yerushalayim. Shalom from KKL-Israel. We are happy to take you today through the story of the walls of Yerushalayim, these walls that have become a symbol of the city. The same walls that were mentioned in early days in the Tanakh, such as in chapter 122 in the book of Psalms, the walls that we stand at the gates, our feet standing at the gates of Yerushalayim, and these walls that over time, again and again, were broken down. People moved out of the walls, people came into the walls and restored these walls. We're going to understand and talk about these walls. Why have they become such an important symbol of the city? Let's go and find out. In the last 3,000 years of Yerushalayim, since King David turned Yerushalayim to be the capital of the Jewish people, there were always Jews living here. All these Jews that were living here were living within the old city of Yerushalayim, within the walls of the city that were built to protect the people. That was Yerushalayim that people knew, and outside of the walls, there was nothing built. In 1860, Sir Moses Montefiore, a Jewish philanthropist, thinks outside of the walls, thinks outside of the box, and builds the first neighborhood outside the walls of the old city. The Jews start moving outside of the walls and settling and expanding the city to the west. Through the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, riots between Jews and Arabs take place throughout the city. The situation and violence escalate towards the end of the British Mandate and leads to the War of Independence in 1948. From this gate, Sha'ar Zion, on May 28, 1948, the last Jews from the old city left, while the fighters were taken captive to Jordan. These walls remained sealed for the next 19 years, when no Jew was able to enter the old city of Yerushalayim. I'm now walking on the walls of Yerushalayim, the walls that were built in the 16th century by Salomon the Magnificent. This project took 4 years to build 4 kilometers of the wall, which in some places is built on previous walls, such as the Hasmoni and Second Temple, and even in some places, First Temple period, which is built straight underneath. Since the Jews left the walls of the city in 1948 behind them, no Jew was able to enter the city, as these walls were manned by the Jordanians. I'm standing right now in a Jordanian military post that was located on top of the walls, overlooking into West Jerusalem, into the Jewish-Israeli side of Yerushalayim, preventing any Jew from entering into the city. I'm standing in the no man's land, the area that was between Jordan on one hand and Israel on the other hand, and for 19 years this was the border of Yerushalayim. For 19 years, any Jew who wanted to dream of the city could only look at it from afar, yearning to come back. This changes in 1967. Israel reunites both parts of Yerushalayim, and a few days later the city is reconquered, but this time by the archaeologists, who come here and excavate every possible place. As the archaeologists started digging and they reached the base of the wall, they continued digging down along the bedrock and exposing a system of caves. These are burial caves from the first temple period. We're talking about 2,700 years ago in Yerushalayim, evidence of the life that took place here and the death of people who were buried in the outskirts of the city, that later on the walls were built on top and swallowed this area. So I'm here with Orna, who is a conservator of antiquities, and I wanted to ask Orna, what is involved in taking care, restoring these old antiquities and walls specifically?
It's a long process. It's continuous maintenance to keep doing it again and again. Like in any new house, you have to do some maintenance. So you can imagine in old walls and all the problems. So I've been working in the Citadel, the Tower of David Museum, for the last over 30 years. And we keep doing it again, and we never do enough, to my opinion. So I can imagine the entire city walls involves much more work. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As I walk through the streets of Yerushalayim, I often think that if the stones in the wall could tell us a story, what would they tell us? They'll tell us the story of who placed them here, why and when. They tell us the story of generations who came to Yerushalayim and connected to it. The project, the Restorers of Yerushalayim, Bonei HaChoma, is a project that helps us restore the past, reveal and expose the past and preserve it for future generations. This wonderful project of the Restorers of Yerushalayim Park, Gan Bonei HaChoma, allows many groups, many people to walk by and enjoy and learn about the past of Yerushalayim. When we stand here, we often see groups of elders and children, similar to the phrase from the book of Zechariah, the prophet, who prophesies about Yerushalayim, of days that will come when the streets will be filled with elder men and women and children playing in the streets. Thank you very much. Toda Rabba.